morning, everybody. Glad to have you here at our second edition of Coffee in the Park. And this is exciting that we're here because today is very exciting. This is our first guest that we have on Coffee in the Park. So Jennifer, why don't you tell us a little bit about our guest, and then we'll introduce her and let her tell us a little bit about herself.
Well, good morning, everybody. I'm so excited to be here at the Wall Coffee Roaster with our first guest. And our first guest is Jan Michener with
Jan.
Michener Allen Auctioneering. So welcome, Jan.
Well, thank you. It was an honor to be asked, and I had no idea I was the very first.
Jan, you're our first.
It's nice to be first, it is. You don't get too many of those anymore.
No, you don't. And we're super, super glad that you're here. And Jennifer, we should mention that we are at the beautiful Wall Coffee Roasters in the heart of downtown Atchison. And so an exciting place to be. So if you hear some noise in the background, it's people enjoying coffee. That's what it is.
That's right. And Cam, I want to say a little bit about why we've decided to do it at the Wall Coffee Roaster.
Yeah, tell us why.
Coffee and conversation.
Yes.
That is why we're here.
Coffee and conversation.
The best conversations happen when you're just sitting down with a friend over coffee.
That's right. And so that's why we're here, and that's why we're so excited to have Jan with us today. So Jan, welcome.
Thank you again.
Tell us a little bit about what Jan does, about Michener Allen Auctioneering. Tell us a little bit about that.
Well, okay, I can do that. I've worked on and off for Michener Allen. I'm going to say almost all my life, because we started out in 1971 in Edmonton, on the east side of Edmonton. And in those days, child labor was just a normal thing. And it actually carried on for a lot of years. So we're like 12 and 11 and 15 and those ages. But we worked with my mom and my dad and one of my uncles, actually, Tommy Michener. On sale day. We worked sale day. Everybody worked sale day. There was not even an option. You worked sale day. So we started out at that time. You're still in school. You went through the high school years. All your friends worked at Michener Allen. All your cousins worked at Michener Allen. It took a lot of people back in the day to pull off the event. Now, of course, it's different because it's all digital, but it's still great.
Well, so let's stop there for a sec.
Sure.
So you don't do live auctions anymore?
Do you know, we hadn't done a live auction in over 3 years.
Really?
But the last 3-day unreserved sale was, we did have live bidders in the in-house, and the auctioneers were taking bids from the floor as well as taking them online, which is really no different than we were doing for a number of years. But it was opened up to live just on April, our April sale, and again this weekend. So it looks like going forward on the 3-day unreserved events, there's going to be live bids taken.
Cool.
From the floor.
So that means you'll still have one of those guys doing there, 25, 30, 35, 40, one of those guys still going?
We will. 1 or 2 or 3 of them. Yeah, we'll still have. We'll have the live auctioneers. Cool. We've had live simulcast over the last 3 years as well, and then we've had timed events as well. So things are a little different, and some people like it, some people don't like it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Change is what it is.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, it's what works for you, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's cool.
It works for a lot of people.
Well, and that's actually one of my questions, Jan. When did Michener Allen? When did you decide that you needed to go down that digital route and make that change?
Well, it was no different than a lot of people. A lot of businesses had to change when the COVID situation came, and we were. Everyone was required to, meet these mandates, and a lot of them were you couldn't gather. So rather than stop, a lot of businesses obviously had to find a way to keep going. And with us, it really wasn't a difficult transition because we'd already been doing online as well as live, and so then it just became exclusively
Cool.
online.
Yeah.
So at that time, but there's a lot of push. I go out, my job
Your job.
Your job.
is, we call it off-site, what do I do? I do off-site events, so I do all of the promotion that is not on site. So I do all the trade shows or any golf tournaments or any fundraising events, that sort of thing. So I get a lot of feedback. I hear from people because that's where you have the time. They approach you. And a lot of people, and so many wanted to have, they miss the live and they miss having the, the people and the social aspect. And interestingly for me, I'm thinking that's got to be like across the board for a lot of different situations, not just auction, that people do. I mean, you were denied that connection.
So that's kind of interesting you talk about that. So like auctions are more than just buying and selling.
Oh my goodness.
They're a connection that people come to have.
Oh yeah.
Right?
It's a cultural. It's a very cultural thing, auction. And even now, even with it being digital, it's starting to define itself. Of course, there's humans involved, so it's going to evolve, and it's going to become what it becomes. But it's definitely still, without the activity of people, there would be nothing.
Right.
Whether it's live or whether it's digital, we still have a lot of activity on site because there's viewing and people come to view, so there's a lot of people
so they still
around.
get a bit of a connection
there.
there.
They do. But a lot of people did. They would say, we've heard a lot over the last 3-4 years about people who miss that whole connection, of being.
Sure.
I think that connection is key. People are looking, for that community. And I would say that auctioneering is a community not only within, your family and your staff, but I would imagine that there's probably multi-generations of families that are your clients as well.
Okay, so very definitely. There's, I see people all the time when I'm out at doing these shows and whatnot, and they'll come up and they'll say, my dad brought me to a Michener Allen auction when I was 9, and we came from Saskatchewan, or a lot of people came from that northern, up Fort St. John way, Dawson Creek, Grand Prairie, a lot of people from up there. And before we had our Calgary location, which opened in 1999, there were people that would come from the south, like far south. They would come to Edmonton. Half of Saskatchewan, I think, came to Alberta for a Michener Allen auction. And they did, but I hear that all the time. And we still know people, and we still deal with second and third generation.
Yeah. Wow, that's incredible.
I'll go out and do I go to these show and shines. So we go out and promote our collector auction, which we do for fun, really, once a year. And I'm going to go out to a place called, what does he call it? I'll say something Coulee. It's out at Irma, Alberta.
Good old Irma.
Grand Coulee. Grand Coulee.
Is it Grand Coulee?
Been to Grand Coulee, yep.
Grand
thriving
Coulee.
metropolis of Grand Coulee.
It is, and we're going out there to do and the reason we're going is because of the connection with the businesses out there and the people that have supported us, and we just want to go. We just want to go and just keep that. Again, you're saying multi-generational connection. It's like family reunion almost.
Right.
And we'll go out to, and that's where it is. It's at Grand Coulee.
Right on. That's
and we'll
exciting.
do this show and shine.
So, talking about the show and shine, Jan, I want you to talk a little bit about the history of that beautiful red truck that you bring out to our golf event every year. Tell us a little bit about that and what the connection is.
Well, actually, that's the very first, I think, might have been the first vehicle my dad ever bought brand new. And it's he bought it at Feuer's in Spruce Grove, Feur Ford. It's a 1975 Ford Super Cab. It's an F100 model. And We nickname it Jane because it's just like she's just plain. She's
Yeah,
plain.
yeah.
She's plain Jane. But it's really survived well. It's in amazing condition. It's this vehicle it has 40,000 miles on it, so it's only on its second set of tires.
That's incredible.
We had to find white walls, so we had to go shopping for that. But and dish, the little dish. Everything is original on it, but it was my dad's truck.
That's
it was
great.
my dad's. He bought it new for the business, and a couple of us crashed it. It's had a history. Oh, for sure. We all started driving, and it was.
Did you crash it?
I crashed it.
You crashed it.
ran into my mother. My mom and I had a head-on.
You actually ran it?
Yes.
Like your mom or your mom's vehicle?
My mom's vehicle.
Oh, good. I was a little worried that
My
you ran
dad's
into your mom.
vehicle. I'm driving my dad's truck. She's driving my dad's car. And I had a head-on collision with my mother in our back alley on a corner.
Yeah. How'd that go?
My mom is like, well, My dad, he just cracked up because he says I have two women in the family, and they crash into each other.
Wow. So that's a bit of a good segue.
He was
'Cause
funny.
I want to talk about your mom a little bit. Tell us
okay,
about your
sure.
mom. Because
My
how
mom.
old is your mom? Can you tell us? Is that okay?
I can.
Yeah.
I mean, when you get to be that age,
I know, it
it's an
doesn't
honor,
matter anymore.
right?
I hear
it's
you.
like
Yeah.
my mom is the same age as Larry Powell. Do you know who Larry Powell is?
No.
Alaskan Equipment.
No.
He's a legend. He's
Okay.
another legend.
Yeah.
People will know who that is. But they're 92 years
92.
old.
Same age as my mom.
Yeah,
92.
92.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And your mom is still going strong?
My
and-
mom is, for that age, yes. It's all, I suppose it's relative, but absolutely.
Yeah.
My mom still comes to Michener Allen in the afternoons.
Wow.
She'll come out. She has signing authority still.
So she's the boss, really.
Right?
She runs the place.
What else
Yeah,
is
that's right.
there? She signs the checks. So she comes out in the afternoons, and people love to see her there, right? It's gotten to be like over the years, at one time it's just you're going to work.
Yeah.
Probably one of the hardest working people I've ever seen in my life is my mother. Amazing. First one there, last one to leave.
Yeah.
But, she's lightened up a bit. So she'll go out in the afternoon. She still drives,
Wow.
thankfully.
Yeah.
And spend a couple hours and visit with people some and sign some checks. Oh, she brings the mail. And then she takes the mail out. So it's great.
These are important jobs. That's great. That's awesome that your
100%.
mom's involved like that.
I mean, every day looking after the mail. Somebody has to do that every
Yeah.
day.
It is.
Yeah,
It is.
that's
it is
pretty
so
incredible.
And she
important.
does.
And I think it brings such great culture and values to the employees to see her
Yeah.
still be there every day like that.
It does. You're absolutely
What
right.
a heritage. Like,
It
that's an
is.
incredible
Yeah.
heritage.
Well, again, I'm out there, and I have that privilege to be out there and hear what people have to say and their experiences, and most of them are good. You get the odd one that didn't have a great experience. Something fell apart on the vehicle on the way home or
Yeah.
whatever, but on the most part, and what they talk about is the people. And she's definitely one of them. Some of them remember my dad, but he's been gone a long time. My dad died in 1976. But so if they remember him there,
So tell us a little about that journey. Your father passes away.
yeah. That was something.
Your mom how did that all go? Your mom, did she think of selling the business when your dad passed away? Tell us how that kind of went.
Okay, this is where I can testify because we're a family of faith and trusting all the time, for our future and just trusting that, there is that parameter where you're looked after. Let's just put it. It's
Yeah,
just been,
yeah.
and after all these years, like you have the experience of it, so you know how real it is. So at the time, my dad had hired Bob Allen. And so the company, before Bob and my mom formed a partnership, it was called Michener McLaren. There's even people who still will say slip, very rarely nowadays,
Right,
but they'll
right.
say. Oh, Michener McLaren. Then you know they've really been around a long time. But so my dad died suddenly on a Friday afternoon at home. In the backyard, they were pouring cement, and he had a heart attack. It was massive, and it was like touch and go. He was out. That was it. But he had hired Bob Allen, and they were also doing auctions in Saskatoon at the time. So Bob would spend the week in Saskatoon, and then he would come back here, and we would go back and forth, and that's where the miles went on that Super Cab. We would drive it to Saskatoon. We would also drive it to Calgary, but in the old days, we would drive it to Saskatoon and back for those sales. And so he had hired Bob, and my dad was forming a partnership with Bob Allen.
Right.
And then in the midst of all that, before that deal was finalized, my dad passed, and my mom and Bob were able to put that deal together and continue on.
Kept the company going.
Absolutely amazing that provision was there. My brothers were all young at the time, and so they weren't ready to do anything. And then not only was he there, but I mean, he had the foresight. He said, "You have 4 sons.
Right.
There's coming a day where there won't be room for me." So he put a time on his commitment, and he stuck with that.
Yeah.
And so 15 years later, my brothers were old enough to step up, and Bob retired, and we still see Bob. And Bob is also 92 years old.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing?
What a story.
Isn't
That's incredible.
We still see
So
him.
the whole family's still involved in the business? All your
Actually,
brothers?
no.
Okay.
My oldest brother passed away in, what year did he 2009. And then another brother, Vance, he went on his own, so he stepped away. And so that left Ian in Edmonton and Wade in Calgary, and so they've been the two. And then they've been the two the owners for it's got to be 10 years at least. But something happened recently that changed the whole.
Alrighty.
Okay.
It changed.
Is this breaking news?
This is it's not really breaking.
Okay.
Although a lot of people
I thought
know.
maybe we'd have some breaking news on the
we have
podcast.
the first scoop on
That's
the
right.
podcast.
We have
It kind of almost is.
we're going to
in
be a breaking
sense.
news podcast. Yeah. Sorry.
That's all right. But Michener Allen, so my two brothers, they ran the company very successfully, I'd say, because we stuck together. We've got long-term employees. We've got, people that do business with us for years and years and years. And so, but there wasn't a successor in the family.
Right.
There just isn't. And
yeah.
so what do? So they're always on the lookout to see but then they get approached by this auction company out of Ireland. It's the second biggest auction company in the world, and it's second to who. So most people know who. But the difference...
Yeah, we won't say their name.
No.
We won't say that. We won't.
The difference between Euro and Ritchie Brothers is Ritchie Brothers is a public company. Euro Auction, second biggest company in the world, is still a private, family-owned and operated.
Out of Ireland.
Out of Ireland.
Really?
Huge auctions. Like they had a sale there. One of their sites is in Leeds in the UK. They had a sale where there was 27 or 2,400 excavators on one auction. Like this is they do massive auctions.
Yeah.
They do them in Australia. They do them in all over Europe, in the UK and Germany and Ireland, obviously. And then they they bought a company in the U.S. The company is Yoder and Fry. They still operate it as Yoder and Fry. It still goes under that name, but it actually belongs to the Euro Auction Group. So they did the same thing. They approached my brothers. They've been watching. They let them know they've been watching Michener Allen since 2012 or something, and they approached them and they wanted to buy the company. And they wanted the boys to keep running it exactly the same and not change the name, and everybody does the same. That's what he said. Ian says, I've got to talk to you. We sold the company. Oh, darn, what am I going to do? No, you're going to stay. You're going to stay, and you're going to be busy.
So they didn't talk to you ahead of time? They just did?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
He dropped it on me 2 weeks before the actual. Yeah, really? So then I had to keep quiet for 2 weeks, but that's hard to do. That's hard to do. Keep quiet. But
so you've sold it, but you're still running it. You're still operating the company.
Exactly the same way.
Exactly the same.
Yeah. Pretty much exactly. I mean, we don't have. The only thing that I've been told is I'm not allowed to mess with the logo anymore. I can't tilt it. I can't change the color. I can't make it, for the collector. I can't make some funky thing to go with the collector. No. It has to be green and gold. It has to be this way. Yeah. And
that's got to be a bit of a challenge, eh? Because you're tempted to tweak it from time to time, eh?
Yes, yeah. You want to make it but apparently it's all about the branding, and I can understand that. We did a equipment show in Toronto since they've been the owners, and there's a lot. They want to expand the company across Canada. Right. And so they'll be, I suppose,
Right.
I can give that up.
So this is kind of leading into another segue about something we know about you, and that is, I understand you have a new endeavor.
Oh, my retirement job.
A new endeavor.
Your retirement job.
Tell us about your new exciting endeavor, Jan.
Well, and it is. I mean, if I'm going to do anything, it's going to have to be a circuit thing, and it's going to have to be an event-based thing, because it's like what I've done all my life. It's almost like you have to go from here to here to here to here. So I actually bought a food trailer. So I'm going to get into the food trailer racket. Like a food truck, only a trailer.
A food truck only, yeah.
Yeah, I'll have to haul it around.
And what are you going to serve? What?
Well, I am going to stick with meat. Because I am mainly meat.
You're a good Alberta girl,
right?
Aren't you?
That's exactly
Come
why.
on.
That's exactly it. And where I kind of want to be let's say I happen to set up in Atchison or Winterburn or somewhere out here.
We'll bring you out here.
Somewhere out here.
For sure.
People out here, they work hard, they get dirty, they get hungry. And so they need meat and pierogies.
Pierogies? Come on.
Pierogies.
Are these the homemade variety?
We're talking about that. If somebody's homemaking them, I just got to let you know right now, it won't be me. It won't be me. I just don't have the patience.
So if anybody's listening and pierogies are your expertise,
reach out to
Jan or contact the ABA. We'll put you in touch with Jan. We don't mind being the middle pierogi man for this.
You had pierogies last year at the golf tournament.
Yes, we did.
They were amazing.
Yes.
Yeah.
Whoever did those call me. Those were really, really nice.
I'll put you in touch.
Yeah. And
this
the
is
way
what the ABA exists for.
them.
Connection of business.
Oh,
this is good, eh?
Yeah,
this is good.
It is.
Yeah. So when does your food trailer start? Or has it started?
No, it hasn't, and it's close. We'll be ready for August this year, and then I'll be ready for next year to go.
And what's your first event? Because you told me your first event, and I love this.
The one that I have booked, a friend of mine that I've met again in the circuit. Her name is Cheryl McKenzie, and Cheryl looks after the Rockin' August. She's the
Rockin' August.
She's like the I don't know if she's operations. Yeah. She'd have to correct me, but she got me into Rockin' August, and there's 10, 15, I don't know, 10,000, 13,000 people go to this thing.
Wow.
And so...
Do you have a name for your...
I'm going to call my meat truck. I'm going to call it... No, it's going to be called Deb's Dogs. Now.
Sorry?
Deb's Dogs.
Deb's Dogs.
There's going to be, we're going to get into the gourmet hot dog thing, but we'll do sausage. We're going to also do chicken and ribs and some sides.
Wow.
So the reason it's called Deb's Dogs, I have a friend that lives in Mexico, and she's got this dog rescue thing going on. and she rescues dogs. So we will have on our menu a hot dog that's called a Mexican street dog, and then we'll take some proceeds from that Mexican street dog and we'll give them to Deb.
Okay, that is 100% totally awesome.
Yeah.
That is incredible.
You know, and Jan, this is something that I know about you. You are a big animal lover.
I love my dog.
And
I love dog. I do.
You have Abby.
I have Abby.
We were so excited to meet at the ABA golf tournament last year. Abby is fantastic. Jan, tell us a little bit about why you're so passionate about animal rescue and giving back to that, because I know you're a big supporter of just animals in general.
It's, there's a lot of causes, and hopefully, everyone needs to connect, I suppose, with where they're able to support. And but when it comes to animal rescue, and particularly the ones from out of country, and I know that here in Canada there's lots of dogs that are up for rescue and that sort of thing too, but you got to have a heart for these little guys. If you've ever seen them, anyone that's been to Mexico has seen them on the street, those in particular. They're on the street there still, and they're not healthy. They don't have a home. They basically, they're little Mexican street dogs, and they're little guys. A lot of them are little guys. I think just seeing it, how can you not?
Yeah.
And then this friend of mine, she moved there. She lives there full time, and she just fell into it too, So then when you know someone, then they're recruiting all the time. We went over. We did a fundraiser auction for them at one point. But I think the best way to help them is just to be aware.
Yeah.
Be aware. And it's not just her. I mean, she's got one out of Bucerias in Mexico, in Jalisco there. But they're all over Mexico.
Yeah.
They're not just Mexico. There's other countries as well. I have another friend that does dog rescue out of the Ukraine. Yeah, and so, but once you see the suffering, and if you can help one, it's the starfish on the beach thing.
Sure.
You've done something. If you can help one, whether it's a person or a rescue an animal, or if you can help one, don't ever say,
I love that.
You have done something.
I love that philosophy.
Yeah.
That's just fantastic.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So, that being said, obviously there's no grass growing under your feet. You're moving and growing and shaking and making it happen.
Yeah.
Tell me something. I'm curious about this, because I find your story absolutely fascinating. I really do. Tell me, what keeps Jan going? What gets Jan out of bed in the morning? What is it that makes you just want to keep on trucking, Jan?
Well, okay, so it has to be, the purpose. We're all okay. I'm again. We're not only a family, but I personally have my faith walk, and so I found my purpose actually in connecting my purpose is to have the most richest relationship I can with God, who's my creator, and his son, Jesus Christ, and then he also gave us another gift called the Holy Spirit. So there's a bit going on there, and but to enter into that whole dynamic is opens up let me just say, it explains everything. If you can connect with God and understand really who he is, who his son is, and the resources that he has made available for us to actually be and in this amazing relationship with him, everything begins to fall in place.
Right.
Now it all makes sense, and you can, with all the things that goes on in the world, there's an explanation in that there's an explanation and there's an understanding, and there's also, you can see again where as you develop that relationship, you can see it becomes kind of natural. You just kind of move in the direction of you want to be effective, and you want to see you want to see people free, like not just free, but living a life that they're not always questioning, they're not like worried, they're not afraid, they kind of know. If your feet are on the ground, head might be in the cloud, but that's okay. That's where all the imagination is. But truly it is my everything that drives me comes from who I am and what I'm created, who I'm created by.
Right.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Jan, what is your one, and I'm sure you have more than one, but throughout your life, what has been your one kind of key takeaway moving in the business world and in the auctioneering world? What piece of advice would you offer to people in business today?
Wow, yeah. The thing that comes to me, Jennifer, kind of almost immediately when you bring that up, is don't be afraid of relationship, and build relationship with people, and don't be afraid of getting to know and letting them get to know you, and getting to know what their purposes are and what interests them, and whenever you can, help and support whatever you can for others as well. Like, very important, I think. But probably for me, it's just, that's how it's evolved in its relationship.
Would you say, because that's interesting, I think that's interesting, we've talked about that a fair bit. Would you say that's sort of how business is being done today, or do you think the relationship aspect is, like are we still on the road of developing good, solid relationships, or is that taking a bit of a change and a turn?
With the digital world, of course, we see people tend to more. There is some disconnect, for sure.
Yeah.
Definitely, it is. There's some disconnect. But it doesn't change that I think that deep within the heart of everybody, I really do believe this, you want to connect.
Right. Yeah.
You want to. And that if there's people who know that, you have to live that so that others can see.
Yeah.
So you can kind of model it for them, whether they're young, mostly young people. It's young people, or people that have just had experiences that has caused them to withdraw. And be aware of that.
You've I think for us, I'm looking over at Jennifer, you've hit it on the head for
Really?
Even the purpose of this podcast.
Okay.
is connection and relationship, and that's what we want to establish, and I know we didn't give you any prompting on that you just telling us that, and that's why I'm kind of looking over at Jennifer a little wide-eyed, because that's the whole purpose of why we want to do this podcast.
That's great.
Is go back to understanding connection, especially in business and businesses and people, connecting, not being silos, and like you say, in a digital age where we tend to disconnect, to come back and connect, because that's really important. So this has been amazing to me, actually. I don't think this one could have gone better. It has exceeded my expectations.
And it has certainly exceeded mine. Although, Cam, when I said we need to have Jan Michener on, I knew what I was doing.
Absolutely.
I knew she had a great story.
Absolutely. Yeah, Jan, you do have a great story, and we really appreciate you, and we appreciate your story, and we appreciate everything you do.
Well, thank you.
And we're glad that you're part of the ABA.
Yeah.
We sure are.
And we're glad that you're part of Atchison.
Well, thank you.
And we need that food truck out here, like
we do.
And ASAP.
I have to though. Okay, I had to call Ian yesterday. I said I waited till yesterday. Oh, I talked to
It's
Andrew
okay.
Michener.
He only told you 2 weeks before he sold the
Right,
company,
right,
so it's all
right.
good, right? It's all good.
It's need to know. So I said to Andrew McEwen, he's our GM. A lot of people know who he is. Oh, you have to call Euro. You have to let them know. You have to tell them about the podcast. I'm thinking, no, I don't. And then I said, well, I'll see what Ian says. Ian says, no, you don't have to do that. But tell Cam. He was so impressed. He went to an event and you were there and you were helping raise funds. Was it Teen Challenge?
Yes.
For
yeah.
Teen Challenge.
Teen Challenge. Yeah, I
he
am.
said
Yeah.
he did the you did the you were bid call you were pulling bids from the crowd and you had an auctioneer.
That's what I do, yeah.
And he thought, boy, if I could get them guys, like to go out for us. We do a lot of that sort of thing, right? But he said he was very impressed. He said you did a fabulous job.
Oh, thank you. Ben Keller, who was the auctioneer that night.
Good.
And Ben's a good friend of mine. Ben was actually, just seeing we're talking about auctions, Ben was actually, I didn't know this, they have a auctioneering championships.
Oh, yes.
And Ben was the Canadian champion one year.
Okay, yeah.
And so he brings me along to just help him out. So that's great. Well, that's pretty awesome.
He was there and he was
that
very
makes
impressed.
me feel great.
Yeah, you probably shook some money out of the tree.
Yeah, we did that night.
Good.
It was for a great cause, and that's awesome that he was there to help support that. But this has been absolutely awesome. I'm going to say it again because I'm sitting here in awe that I don't think this could have gone any better than what it has. And Jan, thank you from the bottom
Thanks
of
for
our
having
hearts.
me.